I felt it as an honor. How could I keep such wonderful news to myself? How could I know all this love existed and not shout it for the whole world to hear? I had no words to respond. My entire being was just one feeling, gratitude, a gratitude so immense it felt like my spirit would burst. I cried a lot, but they were the happiest tears anyone could cry. They were the tears of someone who had finally found their place, their purpose, their father. The experience lasted for what seemed like an eternity and a second at the same time, and then, slowly, the sensation of being within the light began to diminish. My awareness of the square, the angels, and the crowd around me began to return. Direct communication with God ceased, but the feeling of His love remained lingering in me, like a perfume that would never leave. Slowly, I raised my head. The light from the throne was still there, magnificent and powerful. But now I saw it with different eyes. I was no longer just a spectator. I was a beloved daughter who had just spoken with her father. The angel guiding me stood up and, with the same tenderness as before, touched my shoulder, helping me to my feet. My spiritual body seemed to vibrate like a bell that had just been rung. I was filled with a peace and energy that I knew were not mine, but a gift I would take with me. He communicated to my heart that it was time to go. A part of me never wanted to leave. How could I return to a world of pain, longing, and uncertainty after having tasted perfection? But another part, the part that had just received a mission, knew I needed to return. I needed to tell. The angel began to guide me out of the great square, the way we had come. The crowd continued in adoration, an ocean of love facing the throne. No one watched us go there. Goodbyes are not sad, because there are no true goodbyes. The separation is only for a time. As we passed through the golden streets, I looked at everything with a new perspective. I saw the happy faces of the people and now I understood the source of that joy. I saw the children playing and understood the depth of God's care for them. I saw Matus from afar, my school friend. He saw me, smiled, and waved. It was a wave that said, "See you soon," and strength. When we reached the great pearly gate again, I turned to take one last look at the city. I tried to memorize every detail, the light, the sounds, the colors, the faces. I engraved everything in my heart, afraid I might forget. The angel, sensing my thoughts, reassured me, "What is of the spirit is engraved in the spirit, you will not forget." As we exited the gate, we met my great-grandfather Alberto, who seemed to be waiting for us. He didn't seem surprised. He approached and placed his hands on my shoulders. "Go in peace, my granddaughter," he said. "Life on earth is a breath, a blink of an eye, but in that blink of an eye you can spread so much love. Do it. We will be cheering you on every step of the way." His words gave me the strength I needed. He wasn't saying goodbye sadly. He was sending me on a mission with the confidence of a veteran who knows victory is already assured. We crossed the garden again. Now the beauty of the flowers and the song of the river no longer caused me the surprise of the first time, but rather a feeling of sweet nostalgia, as if I were leaving my childhood home. Every detail of that place was a testament to God's care and creativity. I understood that the beauty we see in Earth's nature is merely an echo, a very pale shadow of the real beauty that exists there. Nothing here compares. Our walk was in silence, but it wasn't an empty silence. It was a silence filled with peace and reflection. I processed everything I had seen and heard, the immensity of God's love, the reality of eternal life, the joy of the redeemed, my mission. It was a lot, but my heart wasn't confused. For the first time in my life, everything made sense. The puzzle of my existence had found its missing piece. We arrived back at that curtain of golden light that served as a portal. It was the border between heaven and the universe I knew. The angel stopped in front of me. He looked straight into my eyes, and I saw in them a reflection of God's love. He didn't give me instructions on how I should live or what I should say. He simply conveyed one last feeling, one last certainty: you will not be alone. And I knew it was true. I knew that even as I returned to my body, to the struggles and challenges of life on earth, a part of heaven would come with me. God's presence, which I felt so overwhelmingly, would remain with me in a more subtle way, guiding me, comforting me, giving me strength. I took a deep breath, looked one last time at the celestial landscape behind the angel, and then turned to the portal. It was time to go home, to my temporary home, with a message from my eternal home. The angel stepped aside, giving me passage. I closed my spiritual eyes for a moment, keeping forever the image of her face filled with light, and then, with a heart full of peace and purpose, I stepped through the portal. The sensation was immediate. The heavenly music, which had become the ambient sound of my existence, began to fade like a radio losing its signal. The warm, golden light gave way to that calm, velvety darkness of the beginning, and the feeling of being connected to everything and everyone began to fade, and I felt like an individual again, like me, Juliana, but something was different. I was no longer the same Juliana who had left there. I carried within me the living memory of heaven, the feeling of God's love, and the certainty of my mission. The angel's hand that I no longer felt on my shoulder seemed to have left a mark of warmth and security that would not fade. We began to descend. The movement was smooth, without speed, the same as at the beginning. We passed again through the vastness of space, and I saw Earth approaching. But now I wasn't just a planet, I saw it as a mission field, a precious place, full of people God desperately loved and who needed to hear the truth. I saw the lights of the cities shining in the darkness and thought of how many people there were feeling alone, afraid, hopeless. My heart filled with a compassion that wasn't my own, but a reflection of what I felt up there in heaven. I wished I could embrace each of them and say, "You are not alone, you are loved, there is a place for you." We passed through the clouds, and I saw the outlines of the continents and then my country. I saw my city, my neighborhood, my home. The sensation of returning to physical reality grew stronger. I began to feel the weight. In heaven, I was light, free. Here, I began to feel the gravity, the limitations. The angel guided me back to the ceiling of my room, and then the strangest part of the entire experience happened. I felt my spirit being gently pulled down. I saw my own body lying on the bed. It was pale, motionless. It looked like an empty shell. For a second, I hesitated. I didn't want to return to that prison of flesh and blood, but the memory of my mission and the certainty that the angel was with me gave me courage. I felt my spirit aligning with my body, and then, with a soft sigh, I entered. The first sensation was cold. After being immersed in the warmth of God's love, the air in my room felt icy. I felt the rough fabric of the sheet against my skin. I heard the ticking of the clock on the wall, a sound that had previously been insignificant but now seemed loud and irritating, marking a time I knew wasn't true reality. I opened my eyes. The light from the lamp seemed dim and yellowish compared to the glory I had seen. The colors in my room seemed faded, lifeless. Everything looked gray. My body felt heavy, weak. I tried to move an arm, and it responded slowly, as if it weren't mine. It was a shock. Returning to Earth was like stepping out of an 8K color theater and into an old, black and white, crackling TV. The difference was stark. I started to cry, but for the first time, they were tears of sadness, tears of longing for my real home. My bedroom door opened slowly. It was my mother. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. When she saw me open, she stopped as if in disbelief. For a second, she froze, and then a cry of joy and relief escaped her mouth. "Dad, come here." Juliana woke up. My father ran into the room. He, the man of logic, who always had an explanation for everything, had tears streaming down his face. He saw me, and his entire strongman posture crushed. They both came to my side, hugging me, kissing me, crying. I learned later that I had been in a coma for almost 4 days. The doctors didn't know what it was, couldn't find the cause. They were already losing hope, and now, suddenly, I was awake. I wanted to hug them back with the same strength, but my body wouldn't obey. I could only cry, and they thought it was because I was startled awake, but I cried for everything, for the joy of seeing them, for the sadness of returning, for the immensity of what I had experienced. My father held my hand. "Daughter, what happened? Are you okay? Are you in any pain?" he asked, his voice breaking. I looked at him, at my mother. How could I explain? How could I put into human words the glory of the city of God? How could I tell my skeptical father about my encounter with our great-grandfather? How could I describe the love I felt in the presence of the Creator? I knew that if I said it all at once, they would think I was delirious, that the coma had affected my mind. I took a deep breath, gathering what little strength I had. My throat was dry, my voice was weak, hoarse. I looked into their eyes, and the first thing I needed them to know, the most important message I'd brought back, came out of my mouth. I looked at my parents' worried, loving faces. I gathered all my strength, and with my voice still weak, the first words I spoke after returning from heaven were, "It's all real, heaven is real, and it loves us, Dad, Mom, it loves us so much." My father frowned in confusion, my mother only cried harder, hugging me carefully. At that moment, they didn't understand, they thought it was a delusion, a hallucination caused by whatever had happened to me. In the following weeks, as I recovered physically, the real challenge began. How to live on earth after having been in heaven. Everything here seemed colorless, meaningless. The worries about school, my friends' conversations, plans for the future, everything seemed so small, so unimportant compared to the immensity I had seen. I was no longer afraid of death. How could I be afraid of returning home? But instead, I developed a fear of not living properly, of not fulfilling the mission I had been given. Little by little, I began to count my story to my parents. At first, my father tried to find logical explanations. It was an unusual brain activity. "Daughter, the brain, in stressful situations can create very vivid realities," he would say fondly, trying to protect me from what he thought was fantasy. My mother, with her artist's soul, was more open. She didn't understand, but she felt the truth in the peace I conveyed. What finally convinced them both wasn't my words, but my change. Juliana, anxious and full of doubts, had disappeared. In her place was a young woman with a calm and certainty that were unusual for her age. I began to love differently, with more patience, with more compassion. I began to find joy in the simplest things, because I knew that everything was a gift from God. Gradually, my father stopped looking for scientific explanations and began asking questions about what I felt. My mother began reading the Bible with me, and on every page we found descriptions of the place I visited. My experience didn't convert them overnight, but it opened a door in their hearts, a door to the spiritual that never closed again. I understood that my mission was not to force anyone to believe, but simply to be a witness, to tell my story honestly and with an open heart, and let God do the rest. And that's what I've been doing ever since, and that's what I'm doing here now, talking to you. What I want you to remember from this story aren't the details of the golden street or the singing flowers. That's all wonderful, but it's secondary. What I brought back, the message that burned in my soul, is this: you are loved. You who are listening to me now are loved with a love that has no beginning or end, a love that places no conditions. Your life is not an accident. Every second of your existence has an eternal purpose, and there is a place prepared for you. A home where all pain will be forgotten and all joy will be complete, a place where you will finally understand everything, no matter what you've done, no matter how lost you feel. The Father's arms are open, He is waiting for you. All you need to do is turn toward Him. The journey may be difficult, life on earth has its struggles, but I promise you, with the certainty of someone who has seen it with their own eyes, it is worth it. Every effort, every sacrifice, every tear is worth it. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me until the end of this story. If you felt something, if a seed of hope was planted in your heart, I invite you to join our community here. Subscribe to the channel, not just to give us an extra number, but so we can stay connected, so you don't miss other stories that, like this one, remind us of what is truly important. We are a family of people seeking hope, and you are very welcome here. And before you go, I really wanted to hear from you. Write in the comments what you most enjoyed hearing about this story. What touched you most? Was it the description of the garden, the encounter with loved ones, the presence of God, and most importantly, tell us, in a few words, a moment in your life here on earth when you felt closer to heaven? Let's fill this space with reminders that God's beauty and love are already manifest among us. I will read every comment because your story is also important. Thank you for listening. May the peace I felt there in heaven touch your heart today and give you strength for your journey. God be with you.